UFOs are a potential national security threat. I mean, yeah, if they're from somewhere else. At any rate, that was a quote from a member of the House Intelligence Subcommittee in a hearing addressing unidentified aerial phenomena, or UFOs. Today, the Pentagon declassified and released this video. Here you can see an unidentified object moving across the screen. The Deputy Director of Naval Intelligence, Scott Bray, told the subcommittee he has no idea what it is. And neither do we. This was the first public congressional hearing on UFOs since the 1970s. Director Bray says he wants to get rid of the stigma surrounding UFO reports. He told the subcommittee oftentimes pilots are reluctant to admit they've seen something they don't understand, and says many fear they'll be ridiculed or labeled as, I don't know, downright crazy, as he put it. But Bray says that culture is changing.
The message is now clear. If you see something, you need to report it. Since the release of that preliminary report, the UAP Task Force database has now grown to contain approximately 400 reports. The stigma has been reduced.
During the hearing, Pentagon officials never directly addressed reports of extraterrestrial life, only the unexplained flying objects, for obvious reasons. Avi Loeb is with us now, theoretical physicist and professor of science at Harvard University. Professor, thanks so much. I'm sure you watched. Is this just a look-see, or is this something real? How do you see it?
I think it's real. There are two possibilities. One, that the objects are made by humans, technologies that we are not familiar with, but that would imply that the intelligence agencies do not know everything we need to know about our adversaries. The second possibility is that we are dealing with equipment from outside of this earth. And of course, that would be of scientific interest because it wouldn't adhere to national borders. And that is a focus that scientists can attend to. And so the real question is, what are these objects? And in principle, this is not a philosophical question. We just need better data.
Mm. You know, Director Bray said today that the U.S. has had 11 near misses with unidentified flying objects, but that we've never tried to contact them. Should we?
Well, we don't know what they are. I think we can passively infer what they are by getting high-resolution images. You see, these pilots do not have access to the very best instruments that one can have as a scientist. And so we can use better instruments to monitor the sky. The sky is not classified. Anyone can look at it. We just need the best instruments we can possess. And the government owns also a fleet of satellites that they can look at these objects from above. And, you know, much of the classified data is not available for us to see. But as scientists, we could assemble new data using new telescope systems and figure it out for ourselves. I think that both possibilities are on the table. We just need to figure out which one is the right one based on future evidence. And the other thing, go ahead.
No, I didn't mean to interrupt. Please go ahead.
No, the other thing I wanted to mention is, as an astronomer, there were two objects from outside the solar system that were discovered over the past decade. And that's what brought me to the subject. And both of them appeared weird. The first one was reported in 2017. It was given the name Oumuamua. It didn't look like a comet or an asteroid that we had seen before. The second is a meteor that was actually identified by government sensors in 2014. It landed near Papua New Guinea, and it had a material strength stronger than iron based on the fireball that was created. We are planning an expedition to scoop the ocean floor to look for fragments from this meteor.
Your academic writing suggests that aliens have already visited. What's the disconnect here? The Pentagon says they'd tell us.
Well, the Pentagon is not a scientific organization. I think what we need is conclusive evidence. So what I would like to have is a high-resolution image that shows a label made on exoplanet Y, for example.
Avi Loeb, I hope you get it. Thanks very much for your time tonight.
17th, Congress held a hearing about UFOs. This is the first one in over 50 years. It's happening because of the latest National Defense Authorization Act, which was signed in late 2021. It requires the military to establish a permanent research committee to collect and investigate reports of unidentified aerial phenomena, or UAP. A UAP is basically a UFO. A UFO is not an alien spaceship, but an airborne object that we haven't yet identified and may or may not be extraterrestrial. The government gave it a different name to try to avoid the stigma UFO comes with. The committee's first step was to release a preliminary report, which it did in June 2021. It said there were 144 credible reports of UAP sightings and could only explain one of them.
So this is a national security issue. Regardless of what we ultimately identify these aircraft or aerial phenomenon to be, we need to know.
This is Senator Kirsten Gillibrand, who led efforts alongside Senator Marco Rubio and Representative Ruben Gallego to include a UAP amendment in the latest defense bill.
We always need air dominance to defend this country. And to have UAPs that you just don't know what they are, you don't know if they're Chinese aircraft or Russian aircraft or truly unidentifiable, these are highly concerning issues.
Gillibrand is also concerned with how military personnel are treated when they report seeing something they can't explain.
They are either disbelieved or made fun of or marginalized in some way. And my job as chairwoman of the personnel subcommittee is to really put our service members first.
This isn't the first time the government has tried getting to the bottom of UFOs. Project Blue Book was the last attempt to investigate UFO sightings from 1947 to 1969. The Air Force collected over 12,000 reports, of which 701 remain unidentified. The program closed in 1969 and concluded that no UFO report was seen as a threat to national security. Yet, here we are again, over half a century later, with the same concerns. So, what's different this time? Well, in terms of evidence, we have more. In 2017, the New York Times published 3 videos recorded by Navy pilots that showed objects that seemed to defy the laws of physics. In 2020, the Pentagon confirmed these videos were real. What they were videos of, it doesn't know.
You know, you want the best and the brightest figuring this out because it's an issue. And just putting your head in the sand and saying it doesn't exist is not an appropriate solution or approach. And since I have this role, I can at least mandate that the government start to do it in what I would imagine would be the right way, which is in a transparent, open, and accountable way.
The new office, known as the Airborne Object Identification and Management Synchronization Group, say that 5 times, is being led by Ronald S. Moultrie, who was one of the witnesses during the hearings.
Per la prima volta alla Camera degli Stati Uniti si è parlato degli UFO. Oltre 400 gli avvistamenti documentati per il Pentagono sono una minaccia alla sicurezza nazionale. Il nostro corrispondente Claudio Pagliara.
Fino a qualche anno fa chi parlava di UFO veniva deriso. Ieri ad occuparsi degli oggetti non identificati è stata invece la serissima Commissione Intelligence della Camera. I 2 funzionari del Pentagono che hanno partecipato ad una audizione pubblica, la prima da parte di un organo del congresso sull'argomento, hanno assicurato che la task force istituita dal governo è aperta a qualunque scenario, anche quello dell'origine extraterrestre degli UFO.
UAPs are unexplained.
Gli UFO non hanno una spiegazione ma esiste, ha detto il presidente della commissione. 400 gli avvistamenti documentati al vaglio degli esperti militari. Alcuni oggetti si muovono con un'accelerazione e con cambi repentini di direzione che eccedono le capacità tecnologiche conosciute. Nello sforzo di risolvere il mistero, le autorità chiedono a piloti civili e militari o semplici cittadini di segnalare ogni avvistamento sospetto. Solo raccogliendo maggiori dati si potrà dare una spiegazione al fenomeno. O forse si giungerà alla conclusione opposta, che una spiegazione razionale non c'è e a quel punto ognuno sarà libero di credere che gli extraterrestri sono tra noi.
Il Pentagono stavolta fa sul serio e ha avviato per la prima volta in 50 anni un'audizione sugli UFO al congresso americano. La Commissione Intelligence della Camera ha chiamato in causa rappresentanti della difesa e parlamentari per discutere centinaia di segnalazioni fornite negli ultimi decenni dai piloti dell'aeronautica militare su avvistamenti che non trovano una spiegazione scientifica. In aula, sugli schermi, è stato mostrato un video, mai visto dagli americani, che ritrae un oggetto sferico mentre sfreccia al fianco di un velivolo militare un FA-18. Immagini, per il Pentagono, da studiare e approfondire perché potrebbero nascondere potenziali minacce legate a nuove tecnologie sviluppate in ambito militare. Secondo un rapporto dello scorso fine giugno, almeno 143 segnalazioni raccolte dal 2004 non avevano ancora avuto una spiegazione. Scott Bray, vice direttore dell'Intelligence Intelligence per la Marina Militare statunitense ha riferito che ci sono stati almeno 11 incidenti mancati fra aerei militari e oggetti volanti non identificati. Illusioni ottiche, errori di sensori? Rimane la fascinazione per questi fenomeni che da sempre interrogano la ragione senza trovare risposte, arrivate solo al cinema, dove la vita extraterrestre ha trovato il suo manifesto emblematico nel telefono casa di E.T.
Ok, è un uomo del profondo spazio.